Order. July 22nd, 2025. Welcome to public. Welcome to all those that are participating online. The meeting is called to order. Deputy Clerk, would you kindly call the roll?
All right. Councilmember Elias Suarez.
Here.
Councilmember Pellegrini.
Here.
Councilmember Pamela Dulahan.
I'm here.
Vice Mayor David Kent.
Here.
All right. Thank you.
I'll be presiding in the absence of Mayor Wall. The second item on our agenda is public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to speak to the council on any item other than those listed on this agenda, which there's only one this time. Speakers are requested to use the podium in front of the council and to begin by stating their name. The mayor or vice mayor in this case may impose a time limit on any speaker, depending on the number of people wanting to speak and the time available for the rest of the agenda. In the event comments are related to an item scheduled on the agenda, speakers will be asked to wait to make their comments until that item is being considered. Under the circumstances, there might be quite a vigorous discussion about item 3. So we have another meeting stacked up behind this one. Our normal time limit set by policy here is 3 minutes. I'll be inclined to extend, but no longer than 5. So whoever would like to begin public comment, please step up to the podium and state your name.
My name's Lyndon Gardner. I've lived in Islington all my life. First of all, I like to tell the people of Islington City Council, City Manager, excellent job. The best one I've seen since I've lived in town. Jessica's awesome. There's 2 city council members that sit here. Looking at me, David Kent? There's 2 city council members. I wish they would get their amnesia back. Remember what you guys did in the past. Remember, there is 2 public people here also that cause fucking shit. And I'm tired of it. They don't like Islington. They know who they are. There's quite a few people. They can get out of town. They go back where they came from. And also, I want to thank Jory here for the excellent job he's done here in Islington by himself. But there's one problem. I got told by fire chief here and Kyle to look, even the city manager, see if there's any trees that need to be pruned. Well, I found some trees. One in particular was on Main and F Street in the dead end road next to Miwas that needs to be pruned or cut down. It's way overextended. That's the only tree in town. So I got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. No other public comment on any item not on the agenda? All right,
Will we have time to speak later after it's brought up before this board, or is this it?
normal procedure is that we will discuss the agenda item, but before there is a motion or a vote, then the public has a right to vote.
No.
You're welcome.
And there's nothing on Zoom either for public comment.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to item 3 then, the sidewalk cafe permit request for the Maywa Beer Room. Consider the request from Councilmember Ida Walton, owner of Maywa Beer Room, for approval of a sidewalk cafe permit under Islington Municipal Code, Chapter 4.16. The applicant is requesting an exception to the requirement that the permit holder be a restaurant as defined by standard food facility classifications. Would you like to elaborate?
Yeah, I'll just give just a quick history and how we got here, and then council can discuss.
Would you introduce yourself, please?
Who's talking here? Oh,
I don't know who you are.
This is the city manager, Mr. John Kennedy, and let's try to keep to the rules of order where one individual at a time has the floor. City manager John Kennedy has the floor.
thank you. Back in COVID time, 2020, specifically, we'll just go back to August 11th of 2020. The city council met to discuss generally allowing outdoor dining because of COVID restrictions. That was pretty common throughout the state and throughout everywhere, to allow some flexibility on certain rules for restaurants to have outdoor dining. That meeting the council, I don't know who was all on the council at that time, but it was different than today, except for maybe two. Yeah. The council approved on a case-by-case basis to allow for outdoor dining for restaurants. And because of that approval, Iva Walton was able to get an encroachment permit. It seems like we used it, a public works encroachment permit, no big deal. And she got approval from the ABC to allow for dining to expand her. So she was operating under that temporary approval of outdoor dining through the city council and ABC. So in June of 2023, long after COVID restrictions were lifted throughout the state, there was an encroachment permit, a public works encroachment permit, provided to Iva Walton to basically extend her outdoor dining or her use of a particular area of F Street. And that use was for the dining side, where you see the outdoor seating. That permit was for that area. That was a 2-year permit for encroachment permit, and then it expired this year, June of 2025. That particular encroachment permit. The reason that she was issued an order to cease and desist the use of that area all started from a grand jury report. There were complaints to the grand jury. The grand jury report had quite a few details regarding the use of that area. There, in the grand jury's opinion, the extension of use for a public street, which is F Street, although when you look at it, it seemed like it was just, part of a piece of property. I thought so the whole time here. It wasn't an appropriate use of an encroachment permit for someone to be allowed to use a public street for their own personal business. And then you add a layer that it's a council member, then there's more problems associated with that. I, as the city manager, issued a cease and desist, and to stop using it. If we didn't do something like that, we were basically just ignoring the grand jury and ignoring the law. I was issued an application. It was after the May city council meeting, an application to extend the encroachment permit, and I denied it because you can't issue public works encroachment permits to anyone for their own personal use, basically in perpetuity. After that, a few weeks went by, and Iva and I sat down in here, and I'm trying to work with her to find out what the city council, what this city has that could assist her in an ongoing variant of that use that she had. And the only thing the city had is a sidewalk cafe ordinance. And in that sidewalk cafe ordinance, you have to be a restaurant. So we chatted about that. And I suggested, I couldn't promise that the council would approve it, because the sidewalk cafe ordinance, any applicant has to be vetted by staff, make sure the ducks in a row, and then it comes to council for the approval. I suggested, you can change your license with the health department to be a food service. You don't have to, put in a new hood and cook burgers and stuff, but you could do something very basic. You could be a hot dog place with kind of low impact, and change your public health food permit to a food service, and then you would be able to qualify as a restaurant and then come to the council for an approval. And so that was what I thought the direction was. And then Mayor Walton sent in last Wednesday the application, and she decided that she did not want to be a restaurant for many reasons. So the reason the agenda is described as a request for an exception to the restaurant rule is because that's absolutely what this request is. If she was a restaurant, or at least a conditional restaurant, if she was planning to be a restaurant, the city council could approve something conditionally. Say, yeah, as long as you get this done, you could probably use it, but we'd have to probably change the wording in the sidewalk cafe, which, flexibility is a prerogative of council as long as it's under law. And if, some different changes could be made for the use and the configuration. But the plan to have a restaurant is declined. Mayor Walton does not want to do that. She wants to keep it exactly the same as it is. And I have absolutely no legal authority to provide an encroachment permit. I should say that neither did city managers in the past. This is what caused this problem. None of those permits post-COVID were legally provided for that kind of use. A typical encroachment permit is for something that's an event, or PG&E comes in and does some work, or it's a 1-day thing, a 2-day thing. Sometimes it stretches out for a period of time, but for particular work to be done. So I have no authority to issue a permit. I am not going to put the city in jeopardy or myself in jeopardy when there's an ongoing, especially when there's an ongoing investigation with the grand jury. And here we are. So we have everything that I could put together in the last minute to provide to council to deliberate. I can answer questions. I tried to work with Mayor Walton to see if we could fit it in a groove. I do want to mention one thing about our sidewalk cafe. This is, I'll just say it now in case it gets get lost in conversation, but we have a sidewalk cafe ordinance, and after reading it and listening to an old meeting August 11th, like, I'm not sure why we had a sidewalk cafe ordinance, because we don't really have any sidewalks to fit how it's requested. So I think there's a lot of room for the future, not for right now, but for future talk about amending some ordinances and creating some sort of environments to allow for flexibility for certain businesses for sidewalk use or parklet use, whatever. But we don't have anything like that right now to use. So it is up to the council to determine what the decision is going to be for this particular item. So, and if there's any questions about specifics, I can answer, but I don't need to provide any of that now. Is that a decent enough
Thank you.
history? And okay.
I defer to the other council members first to ask questions.
I have stuff to say, would you?
Stuff to say. Well, first and foremost, I want to acknowledge and appreciate everyone's attendance tonight, because it shows to me and to everyone that you are all interested in gathering the actual facts and to be better informed. Contrary to the internet circus, which brought many of you here, I'm sure. No one in this room is going after a business. The big bad city manager is not trying to shut anybody down. In fact, it's quite the opposite. We all want to work towards a resolution of mutual benefit. It is our job as city council to make sure that that resolution is correct, legal, fair, and equal. Especially in light of our precarious existence right now, especially in light of, as Mr. Kennedy just mentioned, our recent grand jury report, which is, by the way, the 10th in 35 years. Ileton and its residents deserve nothing less than a commitment to making sure that things are done properly. And while we're on council, we all make and are duty bound to uphold that commitment. Having said all that, I do have questions, but I will defer to you now, and
Thank you.
Sure.
Councilmember Suarez. Goes online. This is Councilmember Pellegrini. I think you said it well. There is a lot of partial and false information being perpetrated both in one-on-one, one-on-two, two-on-two, et cetera, conversations, as well as in social media. Citizens have the prerogative to say whatever it is they wish to say. But I will say that I'm disappointed. I would like for all of us to be supporting each other rather than working against each other. The city desperately needs to be a community held together, not one apart. I did want to point out that the city manager did not work in a vacuum here. The city council was part of discussions and aware of what was going on in closed session. And so I want to make a specific point that the attacks on Mr. Kennedy's character based upon this are unfounded and inappropriate. And again, a disappointment to me, both as a citizen and as a councilman. The permit in question, as Mr. Kennedy pointed out, it isn't that one wasn't sought. It's that we cannot approve an incorrect use of a permit. And the encroachment permit that was being used was not correct. For better or for worse, our current ordinance also does not allow for a bar to have a sidewalk cafe. That is no one's fault. That's the way the ordinance was written. And we, at the moment, must stand by that. Does that mean that we have to continue that? Does that mean we can't change it? No, but these things don't happen overnight. They don't happen over a matter of a few weeks. It requires a tremendous amount of research, looking into other cities and what they've done, and figuring out what makes the most sense for our town. So we are trying really hard to think this through, and there's a lot of distraction right now because of all of the talk that's going on. So that actually gets in the way of both the council and the administrative staff of moving anything along. So I would encourage folks to know the facts before they start to speak about what's happening here. And I hope there are a lot of people online. I hope there will be some people here in person to actually hear what's going on. So what I would propose we do, and I know you have questions, but the thing that I would like to see is that we, as much as possible, try and separate the request for a variance on ordinance 4.16, which is our ordinance around sidewalk cafes, and other issues there may be related to code of conduct as it relates to council members, not as it relates to citizens, but as it relates to council members. These things are becoming conflated. The grand jury report makes it very hard to separate them. We still have to make decisions. So my one request is that as much as possible, we try to think of those things differently. We have a request for something that we need to decide on, and there will likely be further discussion around any other potential things related to the grand jury. So that's all I. Back to.
I'd like to give,
Yeah.
you can, anyone can speak, but if you, would you like to?
Yeah, this how old is that sidewalk ordinance? If I remember, it started in, I would say 1998 when they, like prohibited, indoor smoking. So some of the restaurants and bars, like for example, I'm gonna use Del Rio as an example. They had enough room for a sidewalk, so folks could sit outside. Ernie's or Manny's Barceria, they had their area as a outdoor seating. But wanting to keep it as a bar, that's going to be problematic because I could see it if she was a restaurant, but strictly as a bar, that could be problematic because in some areas you can't just drink outside. And, you know, I've been to restaurants like in like Sacramento and elsewhere, they don't want outside food, so that's another issue. And that's basically all I have to say.
Thank you, Councilman. I'd like some points of clarification, and we'll go around again until you're satisfied that we have the facts. We have enough information to make an excellent judgment. The grand jury is not investigating any longer. They've released their findings. That's something the city is doing. Is that correct?
Yeah, if I'm understanding your question right, I'll answer and you let me know if I understood your question right. The grand jury, that year's investigation is over. The report is out. One of their recommendations was to, as per our code of conduct policy, ask the city manager and the city attorney to conduct an additional investigation on finding number 8, which had to do with 3 council members, and one of them is Dalton regarding this topic.
Correct. Okay, thank you. So I need some clarifications, perhaps the public needs this as well. Only on the materials that were supplied with respect to how this item was written. So let me just see if I can go down the list, yes or no, as succinctly as possible. The applicant is or is not asking for the denial to be reversed of the current encroachment.
No, she's asking us to approve the sidewalk cafe application.
Thank you. And if the sidewalk cafe permit were approved, you would still have to go through a vetting process, as I understand it, and you would be writing down the terms of compliance in that permit, the expectations, is that correct, before it was issued?
So if it were to be approved, I would imagine it would be approved with a whole list of conditions. It would have to be a conditional approval. One of those conditions would have to state that it's okay to not be a restaurant or you have to become a restaurant, but I'm not sure if an approval of that application without it being a restaurant is a legal, a legal approval. So if it's approved somehow, there's probably going to be some conditions, and we would probably have to look at her particular location and say it's going to have to be this, this, this. But I think the big hurdle is the fact that it's not a restaurant, because that's a word written clearly into the.
But in theory, and the applicant might have to take action on this, you could issue a permit that you felt was 100% compliant according to conventional food facility classifications. You could do.
Are you saying if she complied with being a restaurant and her health permit changed to food, then there's probably a better opportunity to discuss this as approval? And I see our legal counsel poking her head around, and she might want to.
Changing the use of the permit, not just a variance, like a change of the, say, you know, all these parts are required to have a setback of so far, and recognizing as many for instance, reducing the setbacks from varying. This is changing the use of it, so it's something different. But in those circumstances, you would still just want a public hearing for a variance requirement.
I understand. I'm just trying to get a spectrum. Here is a list of variances that have been requested. Here is one action with no variances being requested, 100% compliant with the existing ordinance. Anything in between is on the table, is that correct?
I would also like to add that my request would be, if the council did make that motion, it is conditional upon meeting with the building department and meeting with fire and potentially other things that we might need to discuss today, if that is on the table. Because normally, when we would bring a permit to you, we would want to have all of those boxes checked. However, we're kind of doing it special.
Thank you. That helps define the spectrum.
Thank you.
Your end of the spectrum is there's consultation and full compliance with no variance with regard to the existing ordinance. The other end of the spectrum is a list of exemptions that allow the business to continue as it is, or with minimal compliance of some kind. There's 2 proposals here with everything in between. Potential.
I'm not sure that I'm knowing that dichotomy, but there is a spectrum of things up for discussion today.
Understood. And maybe the applicant has to revise their proposal. I'm not sure. More to specify. Okay, and then is there any proposal for what would be done temporarily while the business retools to comply with whatever standard is ruled on by the council, whatever proposal is made? Is there any temporary measure to allow the business to operate? It's being proposed.
The business is still operating.
Right, but we want to, okay, so what I don't want to do is have to put any council member in the unfortunate position of having to contradict the city attorney or the city manager's recommendation. That's personally something I have never done. I've always voted with the majority, with the city attorney, and with the city manager, normally in full agreement. So I don't want to deviate from that now. I think that for me personally, that is putting too much controversy onto the issue and putting too much liability into the outcome. So what I would like would be some proposal, if there is one, that allows the business to operate under compliance and then to do so permanently without controversy, if possible. Is there any proposal like that envisioned?
Well, there's no proposal that's even bothered with right now, but let me help, maybe it helps. Let me just point out a couple examples of encroachment permits and how they're used, and maybe you can get there, the council can get there in some way. But for instance, I mentioned earlier the typical use of our public works encroachment permits and what they're used for. We do issue encroachment permits on a once in a while basis, like to Java Jacks, because he has a car show occasionally. So that is an encroachment permit for a day, and they have a car show, and that car show is for the general public. The people that come there may visit Java Jacks, and may go to Manny's Barzeria, they may go across the street, whatever, they might just visit businesses or walk around. But that particular type of an encroachment permit is for an event, a one day kind of thing that serves the general public as an event for the community.
The Crawdad Festival.
Like, yes, I was going to go there with the Crawdad Festival too.
Yeah,
Um,
normally to a service organization.
yes, and normally to a service organization. Gene Yokotobi last month had an encroachment permit for a few days because he had the
Asian American Heritage Park.
yes, the Asian American Heritage Festival, or what was it? Okay.
Grand opening.
Grand opening, yeah, grand opening. That's a typical use for encroachment. Other uses for encroachment permits are for utility work. PG&E is digging up a road or something like that. There are towns, cities that have events like weekend sidewalk sale events. No one gets encroachment permit because everyone gets a blanket approval to use the sidewalk for this weekend to sell their goods. I don't even know of any encroachment permits, public works encroachment permits that are issued to a private business for their own particular private business use only. So one more thing, and this is where it gets a little uncomfortable, and this is the reason that Mayor Walton isn't here, because she should recuse herself from something like this. If this was a regular applicant that is not an elected official of this legislative body, it's appropriate to discuss how what we have right now may not work for someone, and heck, let's fast track some ideas about rewriting the sidewalk cafe ordinance or some other thing, some parklet thing or whatever, and make things work for not only that applicant, but for many applicants as well. When you have a council member who has clearly campaigned for this issue, any activity that this council may do to make it work for that council member / applicant is not going to look good in anyone. Even if there wasn't a grand jury investigation, it would become a brand new grand jury investigation. So we're in a sticky situation to try to make something work. And the only thing that I saw that had a possibility is if she became a restaurant could probably figure something out with the existing ordinance that we have without having to change something specifically for a sitting council member.
Yeah, I'd like council to continue deliberating on some remarks that we. Anyone else?
I just have a quick, well, I have a couple of questions at least. But in our packet, there's emails to the environmental health, the Board of Health. So she does not want to be a restaurant. She does not want to serve food. Is that correct?
Well, she doesn't want to be a restaurant, but she said she wants to serve food, and in the way, like if you were to go to 7-Eleven and you buy a burrito and you go put it in the microwave, that's so like if you were a 7-Eleven, you're not a food service health permit. You're just a retailer of groceries and whatever. So I believe the email that you are referring to, I've reached out to the health department, and I don't believe that email gave all of the information. She just said, hey, if I want to serve some food from another restaurant, what would I have to do? And they gave her a sort of a general, you have to get a plan and all of this, and that's probably a little cumbersome. But you could also serve, just like you do now, snacks. You could hand someone a frozen burrito or something, they could heat it up. You wouldn't have to change your existing permit. But that doesn't make you a restaurant. That just says you can, with your existing permit, sell frozen burritos. So.
The other council members?
I'm not done yet.
Oh, please, go ahead.
So, okay, sidewalk cafe. Let's say she gets it. She gets it approved. Is she going to continue hosting bands? Where are those bands going to be located? Will she need an encroachment permit for every time she has a band? Then that goes back to the proper approval or the proper usage of an encroachment permit. There's that. So along with an encroachment permit comes additional proper insurance, which would now separate the sidewalk cafe into this whole other area, because she would take over the whole street and back to square one we right?
Okay.
So my question is about the bands. My second question is about ADA compliance. Is she currently in compliance, ADA compliance? I have no idea. The pallet fencing, would that even pass fire code? I know the IHPRB gave her a COA for it. I'm not quite sure how that happened. But
We did not.
oh, I thought last
Point of
meeting.
order, please. Let's not have discussion with the public until public comment.
There was an email from IHPRB that did weigh in and said that they met. It was before we got here. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah,
It's there. I don't remember the exact dates, but Nate received a complaint from someone regarding pallets, sent an email to IHPRB. That email came back and it said, we have met and we've, not exact words, but it's pretty close. We have met and we have decided that those pallets conform to like
It's reclaimed.
reclaimed wood or something. And they said that they were okay with pallets, which
If you wish to consult the board,
that's a,
and also
that's
if
right.
you wish to consult with one or more members of the board.
well, I think if you remember, I think that I don't know who it comes from, because when we get emails from IHPRB, I don't know who they're coming from sometimes.
Yes, there was no COA when the.
It was just an email, right?
Yes, and none of us were even on the board. It was before our time.
Before our time.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was it was from Lori Kent, right?
No, what you're talking about wasn't when she built Collins. It was about a year or two later. An anonymous complaint was filed
Right.
with Nate, and we responded to his request about what do you think of this anonymous complaint about the pallet fencing? But that was a couple of years after that it had been an active bear garden. That was done in May Bodenhammer's
So the IHPRB never really approved the.
Not the initial, no.
Oh,
The email said you did.
So
okay.
Pamela was on that board. So we're on the board.
Yeah, I don't even recall that. It might have been a conversation with Clay and whoever. Yeah, I think it passed me.
So there's no official approval or anything,
I
so.
don't think it passed Jack Shima either, because he would have said something.
We, at the time, we asked for the permit and it couldn't be found at that time. We asked for the CRA, they couldn't find any documentation. So we just went, for the present, this current anonymous complaint, we don't object this applicant in the historic period, people built benches and all kinds of things and reclaimed where they reclaimed to siding. It was kind of in keeping with historic, you know, the way historically they did things on the street. So from a historic viewpoint at that time, we had no objection. That was it.
Okay, I have an issue with that, but that's a whole for another day. So then would that even pass fire code? My other question is insurance.
She does have insurance.
She does have insurance. I personally would like to know from legal if this is even adequate. Because what I see here is medical expense, any one person, $5,000. I don't know that that's adequate. But that's, I know we may not have had time to delve into all of them.
Well, I appreciate your question quickly. Is it not compliant the way the current liability is?
That's
Well,
what
I
Yeah, I don't know.
stopped at restaurant. So,
Attorney,
Exactly, exactly.
But I specifically for here, but I would, like you're saying, that sounds low for the sense of liability, and if that's below the threshold of what you're comfortable with risk, that's a reason to consider a factor to consider.
So insurance is, sorry. Okay, insurance is another condition that I have on my list if a motion is made. So fire is definitely one. We have no idea if they're treated, what they need to be treated with, way outside my purview. Building code is another layer. We have no record of what that was, whether that was looked at. But insurance is one where we would want to meet with SCORE and determine what their request would be. So when a city decides to build a skate park, for example, you have to go through a specific process with your insurance company to get authorization before you break ground at all. And so I don't know whether they are or aren't aware of our sidewalk cafe or what we have at Maywa currently. And so I would request that meeting as well, if a motion is made.
And my last comment is, Ms. Walton also submitted documentation regarding, Ben's Friends permitting, which I appreciate the opportunity to review the documentation because it upholds that Ben's Friends application and use conforms to the requirements of chapter 17.8 of the Rio Vista Municipal Code, which defines eating and drinking establishment, outdoor dining area, and outdoor dining use. So that's back to the restaurant issue. I also know that the Ben's Friends patio is a community thing, right? So I know it was a collective effort. You had, I think, a GoFundMe thing. You got a grant with it. And I'm speaking with Andrea, who's the owner of Ben's Friends. Sorry. And also you can't restrict who sits there, correct? Okay.
We
And so-
encourage.
Oh,
We encourage.
beautiful, beautiful. I love that. Up until now, I know that Maywa, the beer garden has had signs up saying, basically, if you're not a customer, you can't sit here. So is the Maywa Beer Garden going to be this community patio with no restrictions? And
There are parameters. So.
Sure.
I'll be happy to.
Sure.
When I want those.
sure,
Not just open all the time, everybody.
right, that you have operating hours and you're responsible
Yeah.
for it and,
Responsibility.
so that's where I'm at. That's what I'm thinking.
any other council member comments?
Sure, just,
one thing which I'll segue off, Councilmember Suarez just said, related to the broader space. And if there were an exemption granted, which requires a lot, I think, in fact, Councilmember Suarez, I think your additional questions just add to what, if we decided to accept this, would be additional conditions that must be met for it to happen. The one that struck me that wasn't explicitly stated is that if there was a desire to use the rest of that space for music, that it, if it were done through an encroachment permit, based upon everything Mr. Kennedy said, would require that it be open to everyone without the requirement of being a customer of Maywa. The same as when Jack does the events down by Java Jack's, where anybody can go around and walk around and look at all the cars and wander in and out and never purchase a thing from anyone in the city. So it's just another point, I think, for us to be aware of moving forward on this.
One follow-up question for me and then a couple of remarks. A new ordinance like Parkland, who knows what, is also on the table as a proposal, but that would be longer term, I presume. But it is possible to propose some new ordinance that accommodates this situation. Is that correct?
The part where I said we're in
That's tricky.
a tricky situation because we're not just accommodating an applicant who's not a member of this legislative body, that's appropriate. Do what you want. But if you were to, as you said it, I don't know if you meant it as you said it.
Using the word applicant, it would just
Okay,
theoretically.
yeah, it would, it probably wouldn't be an appropriate thing for the council to create an ordinance for an applicant to help that applicant, who is also a council member, benefit personally financially.
Understood. I just want to use the capital A word in a theoretical sense now and keep the other issues separate. Because one thing to notice is that we have 3 principal contributors or business owners on the current council, which is understandable for a city of this size. We have Turtle Island, we have Islands Coffee, we have Maywa Beer. All with their
I don't know.
She doesn't have financial interest.
Well,
It's not disclosed on our 700.
There's a sense of nexus in our livelihoods as council members, and it's unavoidable. Councilmember Pellegrini and myself have no such nexus or financial stake. So, I mean, the way that I was taught when I was first seated is that at that time, it was pro-business, and it was proper as a member of the public and a council member to support the corridor from Peters and Jack's and Java Jack's and Market and Heirloom Ritual when it was open, and this and that when it was open, and the Joint when it was open, and 40 Main when it was open, and Maywa and Island Coffee, and the 2 dispensaries where family members purchased temporary relief for an injury there. So, I mean, this is all just local exuberance at work. So I fall back on the idea that if we do something, justice is blind. I understand the point where an accusation could be made if there is any impropriety involved in trying to obtain an unequal advantage. But I think business as a whole deserves an equal advantage. So that would be my point. So my suggestion would be, for me, I can dream. I need a miracle. And the miracle is that some proposal is made in the form of a motion that's perfectly compliant with our attorney's legal opinion, acceptable to the city in the form of the city manager's opinion, so council can vote so that the main profitability and business goal of this important business in our city with a certain degree of notoriety can either currently continue or eventually continue without controversy, as I said. So perhaps what we should do, if council agrees, is go to public comment and then check in again to see if we have any new ideas based on whatever suggestions the public might make to relieve the situation.
So I want to make a comment to what you were saying before about supporting businesses. I don't think that anyone here is arguing the value of the Maywa Beer Room or the beer garden. As I said in my first comments, we just need to make sure that it's all correct, legal, fair, and equal. And that's all we want.
That's why I used the word miracle.
Okay.
But I just had a brainstorm. I remember like, so if I would want it as a bar only, could it be an enclosed beer garden? No?
So,
Well,
She doesn't have that property.
yeah,
She doesn't own it.
yeah, she's on the property.
that's the difference between what Manny's has.
Yeah.
Because Manny's owns that. And it is a restaurant,
I
but
just
also if
remember-
they were just a bar, they
Yeah.
could still operate that because it
Yeah.
is enclosed, but they own the
Let
property.
me debate that.
I just remember like previous product festivals when you had original product festival, they would have a fenced in beer garden, but it looked like an animal kingdom. That's what it was.
I want to commend you, Councilmember, Houlihan, for a brainstorm. That's
Yeah.
exactly what we need. Don't build, I'm no expert, but don't buildings usually have a setback? I mean, I don't think her property line is right where the wall meets them.
It probably comes out a few foot.
Can I
It's
Can I
an easement as
interject
well,
here
potentially.
about the property line? Because I have from the Sacramento County Tax Assessor's Office a survey of Isleta. And I've also seen a survey that someone has personally about and regarding recent construction. Now, the lot size at 35 Main is 25 feet. Most of the lots on Main Street are 30. Her building is actually 25 feet. So it actually takes up the lot size.
No setbacks.
So there's nothing there. There's no wiggle room. So that would need further investigation, but that's what I have found.
Any other council member comments?
I will save mine for after the.
Understood. I think that's a good idea. Yeah, there's probably more discussion. So let's go to public comment then on this agenda item. With the caution that I expressed earlier that we want to move it along in line of our next meeting. But feel free to make any comment that you decide.
Good evening, everyone. Lyndon Gardner. This question is for Mr. Kennedy. It's a two-part question, please. How much time, effort has your city staff put into this? It's gotta be enormous. Couldn't your time have been spent better doing something else for the city?
Let me respond to council.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I appreciate your support of staff, but I just want to, for the rest of, this isn't a question and answer period. It's just a public comment period.
I could permit a direct answer if you.
Okay, yeah, contrary to what someone believes, we don't bill for these extra hours. I only bill for so many hours. So it's taken up so much time away from trying to fix this city. It's really disappointing and frustrating and maddening. Yeah. But I'm still trying to come up with a solution because I think the place is cool.
I don't want to
But
follow up because that would become an agendized item.
yeah, so,
Understood.
but I just want to remind that this is a time for public comment and then it's not supposed to be a
Correct.
question and answer unless
Thank
it's technical.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for letting me answer that question.
Any other public comment?
Hello. So I am Andrea Cross Pearson, owner of Ben's Friends and the Vine in Rio Vista. A couple people I want to thank for being here right now are our city council member, Walt, and our prior city council member,
Robbie Williams. Rio Vista used to have a very similar issue that I think this city is starting to face now, and that was that whenever there was anything that a business wanted to do to expand or even to come to our city at all, the first thing was always how could the city say no? And that became a big reputation in our case. Now, our city council has worked very hard to now, with our new city manager, with our current city council, and help with the city council member from before, to find pathways to yes. How can we make this a town where other businesses want to come? Where businesses that are here thrive, not just barely survive. Because this town, if it's not obvious to you just by driving down the street, is about to collapse. And Maywa is one of the first to put their faith in the town and to think about things in ways that are a little bit out of the box. Now, the outdoor dining space that we have, Ben's Friends community patio, was completely and 100% inspired by me. We were there one day, we were listening to music, and I started to think, I wonder if we could do something like this. So we just proposed the question to our city council. We proposed to our city manager, and what they did, which is seeming to be the opposite here, is how can we make this work? How can we say yes to this? How can we make it so that, in my mind, that we can make it so that all the businesses in the town benefit? So it's not just one, not just us, but all the businesses. So you can go to the taqueria, you can go to Foster's, you can go to Lucy's, you can go to Haps, you can go to the bakery, you can go to any of the restaurants, and you can bring food here. Yes, there are parameters that you can't bring alcohol there because we're responsible for the level of consumption. We're responsible for making sure that people are of age. We're responsible for insurance. We're responsible for cleanup. We're responsible for safety. We're responsible for all of those things, and we make sure of that 100%. This can happen the same way. It can. And so, if I may.
Yes, you,
If I
2 minute
may,
extension.
1 minute. I would like to think that all of these things, is what I'm hearing is, well, it's gonna be hard. We're gonna have to do this, we're gonna have to do that. Just do it. Just do it. Figure it out, because Maywa is the reason people come to this town from other towns, from Rio Vista, from Clarksburg. Now, and guess what other businesses have been coming because of Maywa? Other places are starting to open up. Jack's, Alton Coffee Company, McBootery. McBootery is one of the biggest places that benefits a lot from what IVA has put together there. And without it, they will suffer a lot. So you're not just affecting one business, you're affecting others. So know that. So I would just say that's my biggest thing. Just look for ways. And when you're talking about anonymous complaints, if you won't put yourself on record, I would ignore those complaints, because guess what? There's going to be somebody everywhere with a thorn that's looking to pull out the rug out from someone else. They're just out there. They're the same ones that are the keyboard warriors. They're behind there saying all kinds of nonsense and junk that's just wrong. And you can't pay that much attention to those people. You're paying way too much attention to that rather than really doing what you can to get this city to the place where it can thrive. And Maywa is one of them. So that's all I have to say. If I can help in any way with what happened with our city and how we went about doing this. And as far as it being a restaurant and all of that, there's that, you can change that. You can. It's possible. Thank you. It took about a year. It took about a year. It did. It took us some time, but we went through the process, and I think I know I would be willing to do that too. But like you said, Mr. Kent, there are temporary things that you can do. There are things that you can say, okay, this is a temporary thing that we can do at least up until we really get things all dialed in. Insurance, she can get more. And I'm sure she'll be going to.
5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Would you remain for a moment? Any council members or the city manager and attorney, anyone have questions for this public comment?
Questions? No.
Okay. Let's continue then.
Thank you.
Next, please.
Hello, good evening. My name is Guidani Osborne, and I live in Rio Vista. We've been here for just about 2 years. Before we even got here, we had friends from Concord that said, make sure to go to Miwa when you live there. And it has been really great for us moving here. And Ava came out the first day, introduced herself, and she said to us, by the way, we have great places to eat. Go get your food, come back and have a good time. So I think that she does offer, having the food there would not be good for the other businesses because people do get food from other places and come and sit there. Excuse me. So just thank you for taking consideration of things. And she's one of the reasons that Ileton's in the net. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Pedro Garcia, used to advocate this in Ileton. And I agree that May was bringing a lot of people into the city. But one of the problems is that there is not enough parking in Main Street for the other businesses. And, I've been fighting that I used to fight it for like 30 years. There is too many apartments going on. I know Sebastian has, 2 or 3 buildings that he's got renting new rooms. 20 and 18 just got bought, and they're planning on putting more apartments. If you go down there right now, there is no place to park. Nobody's moving. All those people are living. So you can have a great business and bring people in town, but what does that do for the other businesses when there is no parking for the other businesses? And I thought that Maywell owned the property of F Street because she had put signs no parking. And I think, even if you just park 2 or 3 cars, there's going to bring more businesses into town. I go down and get a coffee down on Main Street, and I have to walk half a block. I find parking and I have to walk half a block to get my coffee. The problem is not that we are not for businesses. I know I was there for 40 years, and then towards the end, we didn't have enough parking. So I think that is a problem. If she owned the property, the F Street, the extension of F Street, she could put maybe parking instead of having a beer garden outside. But I don't know how the ordinance says. We passed an ordinance back in 1983. There was no drinking on the streets, and there are people out there drinking on the street. So I don't know how that. We don't have any police. We don't, that would enforce that now. So, like I say, I don't know how that's going to bring back to what it used to be back in 81 when I moved down here. There was people out there throwing bottles, drinking, and so forth. But it was bad, and it is really nice right now. It's nice, and May was bringing people out of town to bring in, but what about the other businesses? Where are they going to park? For the other businesses? There's Pineapples, there's the grocery store. Like I said, there's compartments with that. So that's one of the things that we have
3 minutes.
Have to, consider, Well, the other thing is parking, that's mine. Thank you.
Next, please.
Good evening, council. My name is Walt Stanish and I'm a Rio Vista City Councilman. Founded by Andrea today. Yeah, a conditional use permit might be the way to go. Now, I know that she doesn't own the street. Lease the street to her on a yearly basis. That changes it. And as far as the parking goes, if the parking wasn't an issue when NEWA was up and running 100%, how is it going to be worse now? It's going to be the same. We have people in Rio Vista that say we don't have enough parking. They'll go around the block 2 or 3 times. They find a spot if they really want to go there. This town and Rio Vista has had a lot of events where thousands and thousands of people come. They find parking. So parking shouldn't be your issue. Your issue should be a conditional use permit and allowing NEWA to be able to lease the space on a yearly basis. I don't drink, so I have no skin in this game. I don't know any of you here other than a few people from Rio Vista, but do the right thing. Get to yes.
Do you want us to respond to that?
Pardon?
Do you want us to respond to the conditional use permit question?
If you wish to, yes, directly.
So, there are rules against a city leasing or selling property to a city council member. And so that is a hurdle that has been discussed with Mayor Walton. And this was the step that she chose. I did not choose this step, but that has been discussed with her.
And that's like been fired from becoming a councilman.
She is
No.
only a council
No.
member.
They're giving
She was on council, she came on council in 2018. This happened in 2020.
Yeah. But it has been discussed.
Concluded?
I am, thank you. Yes, sorry.
Next public comment, please.
Michelle Burke. On reference to grand jury, and that we very clearly missing some information. There's inaccuracy, so I don't know who they talked to, but they didn't give any information. John stated that he has no authority to issue permits, so by the same token, he's outside his role to deny permits. Is it not? I support transparency and the rule of law. I'm not weaponized against those who ask for transparency and honesty. We can only discuss facts that are known. Council knows things behind closed doors, then the public cannot act on those facts. We need to fix our code so we can have a clear-cut process instead of having staff interpret things however they see fit. Encroachment permits are for uses and obstructions of public spaces. One type is digging holes on public property, which typically needs some engineering oversight. The second type is for temporary occupancy, like pop-up tents for sale. There's a parking space for car show, dumpster, scheduled tree trimming, those sorts of things. And a third type is for ongoing occupancy, like farmers markets and sidewalk cafes. Our code is deficient, and that long-standing deficiency is being pointedly used to hush Iva. We should simplify the definition of sidewalk cafe to enable food, coffee, or alcohol by themselves, so long as the health department and ABC approve. This broadens our code to welcome more businesses instead of just favoring one. On the topic of parking, I've been here for about 7 years and I've not had a problem parking my 19-foot long F-350 on Main Street within like 50 feet of anything I want to go to. I used to live in San Francisco. It's a lot to park it there. So yeah, this has been done before. It used to be done in the planning commission. Now planning commission has been given entirely to city council interpreting the code. So we only have one thing in code having to do with encroachment since the sidewalk cafe ordinance. There's nothing about, may I?
Yes, I only have you down for 2 minutes, so I don't know.
That's a fire alarm.
That's a fire call. Or
Apologize.
we don't actually have anything in code for the like dig up the street kind of permits or the temporary use. We only have sidewalk cafe in there. If you look up encroachment in our code. So like, how do we even give any encroachment permits? We don't have code for it. And we only have one form and it insists on engineering, which isn't appropriate for a pop-up tent and a parking space. And we only have one fee schedule as far as I know, which is asking for fees for engineering for a pop-up. Like, this is silly. It's deficient. A solution is reinterpret cafe like Europe does. It's like, it doesn't matter if all you serve is coffee or all you serve is alcohol or all you serve is food. Same, if cafe just is all of those things. And it's
3 minutes.
it's a business that has benefited all of Main Street, both business values and property values. And to abuse the code to try and shut her up so she stops asking pointy questions is inappropriate.
Next public comment, please.
My name is Robbie Williams, and as Andrea mentioned, I am a former city council person from Rio Vista. Y'all are in a pickle, but it's solvable. You have an ordinance that doesn't match what you need. That ordinance can be changed. No, you can't do it overnight, but you can do it, and that ordinance will not just benefit Maywa, it can benefit other businesses in the town. So let's not overthink things. Let's take a simplistic, keep it simple, stupid attitude and fix what's broken first. Then everything else falls in place. You still can do the conditions that you need to make sure it works. And you'll get it done. That's it.
Thank you. Next comment, please.
I have 2 online comments when
Thank you, Nate. We'll finish
When
the
they're done
in-person
here.
ones.
Yeah, my name's John Kane. For you folks who don't know me, I'm the big talk server. They keep referring to my publicity, Islandton Observer, as well as from the Islandton Politics Facebook group. I'm happy to see everybody here, mainly because I felt like I did my part, which is to inform everybody about what I see going on. And people responded to that. One question, and I don't expect an answer, but where is Ivan? I'm going to read to you the part of the Brown Act. Speaking as a member of the public, regarding an applicable personal interest, when a personal interest is found in Regulation 18704 is present, a public official may speak as a member of the general public if he or she complies with subdivision A and B, which is 1, she declares that she has a conflict of interest, and 2, she recuses herself and removes herself from the diocese. Recuses himself or herself from voting on the matter and leaves the diocese to speak from the same area as members of the public. He or she may listen to the public discussion and deliberation of the matter with members of the public. If she was prohibited from being here, it's a direct violation of the Brown Act. Point 2. I'm glad. I'm sorry.
I'd like the comment to finish and then you can respond. Please continue.
Sure.
I added time. Go ahead.
Point 2. I appreciate the fact that you guys brought the Rio Vista definition of a restaurant, food and drink, in their ordinance. Who made that ordinance? Oh yeah, the city council did. City council could have just as easily said food or drink. They're the ones that make that decision based on what's the best thing to do for their community. Not Sacramento County's definition. If it's the best interest of the city, for all the businesses in the city, for us to say food and drink, or food or drink, you have to understand that that gives the place
for people to go and sit down and eat their food from every restaurant in town, including the ones that don't have a place to put a sidewalk out there. It gives a nice shaded spot under the trees that benefits everybody and it benefits all of us. And it seems to me that it's just a fairly simple change of the ordinance. Real quick, the last thing, Mr. Kennedy keeps talking about issuing a permit in perpetuity. That would be incorrect. Encroachment permits, as standard practice, have time limit. He's already pointed out, well, we give a encroachment permit for a car show. Right, and the time limit on that is for the day of the car show.
Are you requesting an extension?
Yes, but
2 minutes.
thank you. So it would not be at all unusual for them to go, okay, we are going to allow the extension of the encroachment permit for 120 days. In the meantime, we work on getting the ordinance changed and we have a robust conversation within the community about what's best for the community. And then we move on from there. But to torpedo her business, which in effect torpedoes all of us, it does not seem like it's the proper way to go. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, you may respond.
One
One directly.
clarification, no one has been prohibited from being at this meeting, including you. No one told her not to be there.
Next public comment, please.
I'm Bobby Waller, and I am a Delta musician. And like most musicians, I am woefully ignorant of the law. I wish I had some brilliant legal insight to add here tonight, but I don't. I'm here because I'm just old enough to remember a time when people thought live music was something special because it brought us together. And I play at Maywa whenever I can because at Maywa, live music is still special. Live music, I play Maywa because when I play there, and I play a lot of places, they're not all equal. At Maywa, people laugh and clap and sing and have a good time. And that is, thank you, Mr. Kennedy, for pointing out that it's a pretty cool place. I agree with you, and I want to thank you all for whatever consideration you're giving to helping make things happen for Maywa. Maywa is a place where people still just like being with other human beings and they can put down their electronic devices and just enjoy the presence of other human beings. That is rarer and rarer every day. And that is what makes us human, and that is culture. So thank you very much for whatever consideration you have for me.
Thank you. Council may wish to close public comment at this time because we need time to deliberate and start the next meeting on time. But I'm happy to continue. It's the council's will.
I would go with the two online that have been waiting this whole time.
Let's definitely rotate and do that, and then we'll come back to the further public comment.
All right.
Please go ahead. Thank you, Deputy.
Is it Cinzana?
Cinziana.
Cinziana?
Yes, that would be me. I will keep it super short. My name is Cinciana Todor and I'm a resident of Brentwood. My husband and I drive from Brentwood to Alton regularly because we simply love Maywa for the relaxed environment, masterfully curated beer list, and exceptional customer service. While we're there, we definitely buy food from the surrounding restaurants.
and we get to enjoy it with a glass of not cider, because she can sell that. I'm sorry, seltzer or whatever is acceptable in that place to be sold. We definitely enjoyed the music and sitting outside on the patio. We were very disappointed to hear that the outdoor area was closed, and we respectfully ask for this council to find an amiable solution to approve its reopening. I understand the crafting policy takes a long time, but as it was suggested, a conditional use permit type of situation will be something that could keep this establishment going, even with the outdoor area. So, and another thing I want to mention, that having this outdoor area not only enhances the customer's experience, but also allows more people to be accommodated while generating tax revenue for the city. Please find a solution and approve Maiwa's outdoor area to be in function. I really appreciate your time, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Next online, please.
Shauna?
Hi, this is Nicholas Frankel.
Hold on, Nicholas. Shauna was prior, so hold on just a minute.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
This is Shauna Pellegrini on First Street. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. First of all, I'm so happy and moved that so many people have shown up, it sounds like, and are speaking up. And I also really appreciate the time and effort that not only City Council, but also staff is putting into Isleton, and in particular, this issue with I think is pretty clear is a big one for the community and the extended communities around us. I would request that City Council consider really a future thinking, future aimed plan as far as outdoor dining and or outdoor drinking. I think, you know, having something that doesn't just specifically cater to one particular business is important, and I think that is something that's going to take time and a lot of forward thinking on the part of the council. And just want to encourage you all to take your time with that, and perhaps in the meantime, it is possible to find a way forward that allows Iva and Maiwa to continue to operate, you know, even with some kind of temporary status, so that she can take advantage of the summer crowds and the rest of our businesses can benefit from those crowds that are brought in. And long term, we can have something in place that benefits all businesses, all future businesses and current businesses. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next online comment, please.
Hey, sorry, Shauna, for stepping on that. This is Nicholas Frankel, resident of Isleton. The section of F Street that extends north of Main doesn't have any through traffic, meaning it doesn't connect to the 160. It functionally exists to only slightly expand access to the two properties it runs between. It's a neglected strip of asphalt with no traffic on it, more or less a driveway designated a street. The Maiwa Beer Garden has previously utilized a part of this otherwise useless strip of asphalt, and it converts it into a commercial asset to Main Street that I believe benefits all of the businesses here. It's family friendly, it's dog friendly, and it makes space for folks to bring takeout from other businesses in town and enjoy it on the outdoor seating. So it broadly generates foot traffic between all of the other various businesses on Main Street. I hope you'll consider working towards some kind of agreement for the Maiwa Beer Garden to utilize this space. It sounds like renewing the previous permit maybe isn't the option, but carving out some kind of other conditional use agreement or fixing the sidewalk cafe designation to the extent that it wouldn't be wildly cost prohibitive to accomplish, or rely on Iva entirely changing the existing business model in order to do so. Seems like decent solutions. It doesn't feel like a big ask for a business to seek a workable permitting solution for this kind of situation. And I hope you'll consider the benefits to many of us residents as well as the other businesses that make a living here on Main Street. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I need to find out from our city attorney, can members of the public comment on this item if they do it at the opening of the next session during general public comment for that?
No.
Okay, this has already been previously discussed. Okay, so how many people wish to speak? Can we postpone the opening of the next meeting?
We're gonna have to.
Okay, let's continue and give everybody a turn. Next public comment, please.
Oh, Paul can tell you now. I agree with everything everyone said to you, yes. I've worked in business development for global companies around the world, and some of the deals are small, some of them are medium, and some of them large. But we've always figured out a way to get them done. And I think this isn't going to be extremely hard. It's going to take some time, obviously, but it can be done. It's been working for the last 5 years. You have to think of the future as well. What are you going to have left here if you don't over time? You know, you have a space that's well kept, clean. The space isn't really impacting anyone. Find a way to do it. Get it done. You want me to do it? I'll do it. Give me an attorney, knock it out in a week.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
All right, maybe 6 days.
Next public comment, please.
My name is Russell. I live in the town of Block and I'm an outsider. And I know what it's like because for 4 years I was chairman of the LMA that ran Lock and enforced the CC&Rs. So it was tough. And I'm really amazed that, not shouldn't be amazed, but I'm impressed by your professionalism and everyone talking and having an idea and a belief. It's so wonderful to see. It's a difficult job, and I understand the sensitivity of the appearance of the impropriety of helping someone who sits in a chair. That's hard in community because communities love to gossip. Small towns that gossip and they go on forever. But there's an old quote that I remember reading in high school, and that is that the law is only as good as the people that are supposed to enforce it. So people, it's the enforcement of the law that makes it good or bad. I love ombudsmanship, where they would look at a problem between people and they would get everyone together and find a way through. Because I love the law, I love organization, I love a structure, a framework to work in, and that's what you're stuck in. And we all get stuck in it. We got stuck in it with our CC&Rs. But you know, policeman may stop a person at 3 o'clock in the morning who goes to a stop sign, rolls through, oh my, broke the law, and pull him over. It's a young man and a young woman whose water broke, and he's driving him frantically to the hospital, his wife frantically to the hospital, and the policeman will go ahead, put his light on, and get her to the hospital. And I hope that you can find a way to put a light on and get through your laws and your whatever's been written, because we're seeing from up top that what's written is like highly debatable. So good luck.
Thank you. Thanks. Next, please.
Yeah, I'm governmental, and I hope that the council does look at comments that are sent in online. Sometimes they get missed. And I'm from Locke also, and I was on the board of directors for the Management Association for longer than I care to remember, like 12 years. And we are under the Brown Act. And we had to file Form 700s. A town of 80 people with 30 property owners, and it can be a lot of pressure. At any rate, what I appreciate and what I think stood out, and I love what everybody said tonight, I'm like, yes, me too. But what I do appreciate and I've heard tonight was that you're concerned about conflict of interest because of Ida's position and transparency. And I feel that I'm really sorry that I was not here. Because I'll tell you, I talked to Iva and she was, if I understood her, she said that legal tells me not to be. It's word of mouth to me, so I don't want to spread that, but let's put it out there because I've been before our board of directors in the past when I was a director. And what you do is you show up. It's really valuable for the person whose matter is brought before the board, no matter what their position on the board, to explain themselves, to be able to address questions. I did it once. We were changing a window in our home. We're under design and review committee. Well, I had to be there and stand up and say, okay, this is what we're doing. This is a picture that, and really thoroughly explained it. And then I physically left the building. There was no other room to go hide in. It was soundproof. Physically walked out when our remaining directors discussed the matter. And the public just, put their input. So everyone felt safe. But at least I was present to give voice and explain myself. And I'm really sorry that I really felt, in speaking with Iva, that she was afraid to come tonight because she thought she would violate the Brown Act and create a conflict of interest and a discomfort for the rest of the council. And I don't think that was necessary. I would have loved it. She could have been here. But I do appreciate, I understand don't be afraid. I'm watching you all. You're really being really careful. You're transparent. And that sensitivity is important, but I think you're covering those bases. And please, if this goes to another meeting, if it's pushed on, I hope that she shows up and it will only help the matter, in my opinion.
Thank you. Any other public comment? I would like to have you do that as we close the public comment, because I have a question for you.
Okay. My name is Stuart Walthall. I'm current chairman of Lot Management and also the Lot Foundation. First of all, I want to thank the board. I realize when you take on these duties, you have a target on your back. And it's extremely difficult when people frankly say lies about you. But you all look like you have pretty thick skin. I also really appreciate the comments that have come from the public here. They're much more articulate and well-informed than I am. But having had to deal with several nonprofits and government, FPPC, etc., I realize you can get bogged down, you can get emotionally fractured, you can want to stick up. But let me just encourage the board. The board, the city manager implements the policies of this board. And I encourage you to have a little bit of guts and go for it here. You can get caught up in so much of this minutia where you don't want to make yourself subject to lawsuits, etc. But look at the authority that if you don't cross your T's, dot your I's, where's it going to go from there? If somebody wants to pursue it, well, be ready to get a letter from FTPC or have your character attacked more and more if you wish. This isn't just a matter of Iva. This is a matter of Ileton, and I know the litany of issues. I've lived in the Delta for over 40 years. I know the litany of issues that this town has. I think it's a wonderful town. I think when it gets enough activation energy, especially the Strip, it can be a wonderful place like it used to be. So anyway, I want to thank the board, and I want to thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Next, please. Any more public comment?
Laura Penn from Milton. One of the bases for this conflict is the grand jury report. And as Ms. Shepard pointed out, there were a lot of exaggerated and incorrect statements made in that report. So whoever testified was making false and exaggerated claims about what happened. The original permits were issued by Chuck Bergson, not the staff who was allegedly testifying before the grand jury. Chuck Bergson was not coerced by anybody at any time, certainly not by IVA for these permits. So this whole idea that she violated a code of conduct because she tried to build and improve her business while being a council member is erroneous and frankly just offensive. The other thing that I would like to address is, again, a council member said that when people talk, it gets in our way. If people talking, if the public all communicating and coming together is in your way, then you better reconsider what way you're on. I think you're going the wrong way. Thank you.
Thank you. I noticed another public comment. Your turn.
Hello, my name is Holly Wolf. My husband and I moved here 3 years ago, and we opened up the Delta region of the Carefree Boat Club. I hear all of your concerns, and I would just like to stress to try to find a quick solution, an emergency order. Being of the boat business, summer is vital. These are our patrons that are coming in, and the summer can make or break you. So while to do the correct long-term, figure it out, if it could happen quickly for the rest of summer to bring in business for all the businesses, it would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we read the comments?
May we conclude public comment? I would like our attorney
You can
to
read them.
respond to the
We have.
whether there's any reconsideration before we close public comment of having Mayor Walt respond as another comment.
Can you go back to the mic, because people online can't hear her.
I don't think it'll reach.
Thank you, Councilman Swan. I just want to repeat my,
Did send a memo.
I want to repeat my question. Is there any reconsideration of having Mayor Walton participate as a member of the public online?
So I don't know if you had reconsideration. I didn't advise that she necessarily not be here. I did send out a memo to all of council just regarding conflicts of interest and recusal. And it's up to Mayor Walton whether she feels that it's appropriate that she recused, and she chose to not to.
So you would have no particular objection to having her respond as a member of the public online? Make a public comment?
Within the parameters of what I outlined in the memo to respond within that scope and not participating in the deliberation and feels that she is comfortable doing so without any conflict, and she just and that was something that I left to her. And all I sent was that memo that I sent her.
Okay, so your position is that it is her choice to participate or not at this time during public.
Yes, in light of all the considerations.
All right. Any other public comments online or in person?
Nothing online.
Okay, we'll close public comment. Then. Thank you for your remarks. And I guess we're back to deliberation. So any reconsideration or any proposals for motion?
I have a clarification, and I do have my clarification. Maybe I'm incorrect in assuming that the statement of when people talk gets in our way was directed at me, but in case it was, I will clarify what I actually said. And that is that people talk without knowing the facts and repeat incorrect information. That is a distraction from us doing our job. So, with that said, what I have to say is that Maywa is an important anchor in Middleton, and I don't think anyone would dispute. I will fully disclose. When we decided to move to Isleton in 2018, Maywa was a big important factor in that decision. It was also knowing that other folks were moving to town to open the Isleton Coffee. That was a factor in the decision we made to move there. We wanted a small town, but we wanted to be able to get coffee. We wanted to be able to walk to a bar. These things matter to us. So full disclosure that it really does matter to me what happens here with this bar. I do want to remind everyone, no one's talking about the bar being shut down here. A lot of the comments alluded to a belief that somehow the bar was being shut down, and that is not the case. This is expressly about the outdoor seating area of the bar and whether there is a compliant way for the owner of that bar to proceed having that outdoor area. So I just want to make sure we're grounded in what we're really talking. I will also express that I couldn't be more appreciative of everything showing up here today. I am overjoyed with the number of people from out of town who have showed up here today and who are online. It's incredible. And as someone who cares about the city deeply, knowing that so many others do really touches me. So now for what I would suggest, and I am going to assume everybody understands that there would be lots of conditions connected to this that would need to be determined, everything from fire to building inspection to easements to et cetera, et cetera. So please take it as, I don't know what all of those considerations are. Many of them are probably legally related. Many of them are related to potentially other ordinances. But understanding that my expectation is that there are a lot of conditions, I would propose that there is a temporary variance provided. And that temporary variance is time bound. And within that time bound period, the ordinance be reviewed. We do a as comprehensive as we can volunteers review of ordinances in other cities that might be similar or impact things in our own town. And we hold a community feedback discussion to hear,
Excuse me.
sorry,
Public hearing.
yes, to hear from folks what they think. That this not just be about one beer room, that it be about the future of what we want for Main Street in Isleton. And based upon all of that, make considerations to what might be a more appropriate ordinance related to businesses operating adjacent to their brick and mortar. So that could be changes to the ordinance. Frankly, we have to consider that we might decide no changes are needed, and we would, in that case, revoke the temporary variance. So I, just to be clear, that there's no we don't have an answer today, but we need the time to explore it. And I think I appreciate a couple of folks brought up, and that it took a year, right? These things don't happen quickly. None of us even knew that it was being done with the wrong kind of permit until the grand jury brought it to our attention. So there's no maliciousness here. It's just, whoa, we got to figure this out because we didn't know. Unfortunately, the timing of the permit expiring hit exactly at that same time. And so it forced us into a bit of a corner to act. And that is the reality. It's not a pretty reality, but that's what's happened here. And we are trying to kind of get out of the, oh crap, what are we going to do? Get out of how. There are a lot of other things related to behaviors, communications, code of conduct that have to be reviewed, irregardless if people believe what was said in the grand jury or not. We have to look at it. We cannot throw it out. We must pay very serious attention to it and figure out what in it we agree with and what we don't. So that is going to take also a lot of time. In the meantime, I think a variance for a specific time period is appropriate, assuming conditions can be met that would need to be decided. And that time period would be with the intent of giving us enough time to figure out what an ordinance needs to be. I'm not sure I think any ordinance is needed, but I do think the ordinance as it stands may not fit the future. It may not fit today. And as some of you who are local regular attendees of this know, last month, or last time we met, I did propose that we look at all of our ordinances. And this is certainly one that might be more urgent. So those are my thoughts.
I have a quick question for Councilmember Suarez. You get to speak for yourself, but if I interpret you correctly, you're more concerned about finding a path to compliance, similar to Councilmember Pellegrini's suggestion, than you are about the issue of having a council member also be a business owner. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, my head is about to explode. Could you repeat that, please?
Certainly. You're more concerned about compliance than you are the fact that we have business owners participating in the council.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other,
That is not to say that a business owner who is also sitting on council should not be able to do business. That is not what I am saying.
correct, I understand, and I understand, I'm not discounting the issue. That is something that may have to be a trade-off for the applicant.
Correct.
It's none of my business, actually, in a sense. So. Any other council deliberations? The motion that I heard for me is viable. If you put it-
We would have to make a motion.
If you put it.
Yeah, putting it out
Right.
as a suggestion.
If you put that in the form of a motion, to me, that would be viable under these circumstances, considering we're more informed than we were before we conducted this session. And we've had a chance to deliver. So what I heard you say seems viable to me.
I yielded, so it.
I've got nothing.
I mean, needless to say, since I'm filling the vacuum no longer ponder, you had the innovation of adding the time. For me, that was the missing piece. Transition. And to some degree, if I heard the public correctly, that was a point of their suggestion was transition. It just seems good for all concerned.
I actually do have something to say. I will not agree to a variance simply because she's on council. And I do not want any appearance of impropriety here. Period. That's it. There's not. Yes, path to yes. I'm there. I'm with you guys. I love the beer room. It's wonderful. It's a great addition to the main to Ileton. But I will not compromise the city and its laws because she's on. And that is the appearance. And if it was any other business, I'd be saying the same thing.
Well, I would remark that I respect that view. It is reasonable view, but it could affect any council member in that position. And could in future and would have in the past.
Well, the past has been sketchy.
Let me ask our city attorney,
It's not
city
gonna matter.
manager. If you were looking at any variation of this item, the proposal, would there be any variation you could conceive of at this time that would allow the council member to be seated and still find an acceptable time-limited variance that would not appear to be a conflict of interest. Can you conceive of any such thing?
The actual ordinance, that way everyone's held to the same standard. It's not a variance, and it does take a little bit of time. It's not like you're getting it tomorrow. The ordinance takes time, but the ordinance is what would outline the scope of what would apply to everybody having that authority and moving forward with it.
I think council would unanimously agree with that. Is that correct?
But there is the consideration that John mentioned of, okay, creating an ordinance specific for this council member. But like John also mentioned, if any other applicant came forward and it's like, hey, we're realizing there's no current encroachment permit ordinance for the city, and that is a hole to be filled. It just came about at this time in this manner.
And so you're suggesting that if a non-elected applicant were also to lend support for a change to the ordinance, that might help the issue?
No, I'm saying that regardless of her position on council, not having an encroachment permit is an issue. Because in instances like this, how do we know we're treating council the same as someone else? Whereas if there is a ordinance to follow, we know that we're following the proper procedure. The issue is just that it came up at this time instead of us having an ordinance.
Thank you. Councilman Pellegrini, then the issue becomes your time limited suggestion is now sort of in conflict with the idea that we have a council member that is the applicant. I think this is what the issue is being raised. Can you find a way around that as well? You're on a roll.
I don't know the way around that, other than the fact that I do think that any food facility in this town that were to say, we would like to put in a sidewalk cafe, regardless, and I'm using food facility as Sacramento County uses it. That includes bars and restaurants. It includes restaurants that have bars, and it also includes bars that are not restaurants. It understands that restaurant and bar are not the same thing, and it includes other types of facilities as well. So under those auspices, I think it would be amazing if our Main Street had multiple places where if people were driving or walking down the street, they actually saw people gathered outside, enjoying a meal, having a drink, talking, listening to music. I think that it would help revitalize this city tremendously. So I want to definitely declare that my position on this is not about Mewa or Iva. It's about what this city needs desperately to not just ride, but actually survive. We are not doing it. And we need people to see us as a lively place so that they take the time to check us out. And I am concerned for the city that we are cutting off our nose to spite our face. And and I, at the same time, have zero interest in doing anything that puts the city at risk. And I think what Vice Mayor Kent keeps circling back to, and I appreciate, is the quandary we're in. Because no matter what we do right now, we are putting the city at risk. No matter what decision we make, it leads to a certain kind of risk for the city. And I don't know how to get us out of that quandary. I think public comment is hugely useful to help us understand how the majority of people in the city might feel about it, because I frankly think that matters probably more than anything else, as long as we are following the law. And that is why I will stay with my position that on the record, I do not see a variance as a favoritism thing. I see it as a lifeline for the city.
Well, this quandary that you mentioned, thank you for recognizing it, it's huge. It may be insurmountable, but it leads to stupid questions. So stupid question number one. Is there any mechanism by which Ms. Walton can extend her recusal, I believe, of absence until we can get a proposal that we're comfortable considering? Would that help?
Claire.
Well, she's recused at the moment, has voluntarily decided not to participate as a member of the public. Is there a way, she may not agree to this, I'm just asking, is there a legal mechanism why she could extend that until an ordinance is proposed?
You mean if she could choose to recuse from these and related items to this, that's what you're asking?
Well, apparently the concern is she's a sitting member of council. If she missed the next meeting, for example, deliberately, would that help? Until this is settled.
No.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Let's just talk about that topic again. Whatever council decides to do, you do it. If I feel that there's no risk as a city manager taken through your policy, I'll go for it. If not, I'll ask you to sign all the permits. Okay. But I just want to remind the public that I think something that we keep forgetting. Let's use Rio Vista's 17 point, what is it? The thing for that you guys passed.
17.8.
So I'm gonna guess no member of a council or a legislative body that passed that or was part of that has any financial interest in any of those businesses that benefited from that, right? Okay. Nothing wrong with a council member having a business, but, and also that ordinance, it is for restaurants. It specifically states in there about the third line down, it's for restaurants only. We currently have a sidewalk cafe ordinance that if you were a restaurant, you could probably get to a yes pretty quickly, but you have to have an applicant willing to play along with that as well. I'm going to guess at this point in time, I don't want to speak for Iva, but I bet you she wished she wasn't on the council because that is what's causing the problem. If you were not a council member and you're the applicant, we could brainstorm all along. There's no concern with any let's just use the word collusion of the council members to help a council member come to something that would work specifically for her only, and she will have a financial gain. That can be a crime. It absolutely is a crime. It's Government Code 1090. It's a conflict of interest. It's a financial crime. So if Iva wasn't on the council, she is, but she would have a lot more opportunities to create what she needs and the community is asking her to do. So I just want to remind the council that we have a specific difference in our situation than everyone else out here has been talking about. It's absolute. Okay.
Speaking for me personally, thank you. Mr. Kennedy. John. I fully endorse Councilmember Pellegrini's proposal, but I'm not prepared to vote because I've been cautioned. So can we take 2 weeks and postpone the item? Is that even possible?
So just bring that item back.
Yeah, until something about this crucial dilemma dissipates. I can't vote under these circumstances.
Yes, it can be brought back. I just would say that it's unclear what may change in the time between.
Let me ask legal a question. I don't know if you have the answer. So Iva was given an encroachment permit during COVID. We knew that that was fine no matter which way it came. It could be a fist bump back in COVID time, and it was fine. The ABC was just handing out resolutions over the counter like candy. Okay. That was during a time that was not even disputed that it was okay. She was given an encroachment permit, a regular encroachment permit to continue what she was doing. She did expand the use significantly. She used the whole thing the whole time.
But it was for dining.
Yep.
It was a dining.
Yeah, it was for dining and there was a participation. So the only thing that I could think of that I don't even know is legal because we're talking about a situation where a council member or even a member of the public is using a public right of way, a public road, regardless of how the effect of that road. It is what it is. If she was issued another encroachment permit similar to what she's had for a particular use and paid every time she had an event, do you see this city being in a legally precarious position if we continued that Band-Aid time frame variance?
That avenue, but yes, it would have concerns with homes about legality of that continued use outside of off-premise avenue.
Okay.
Thank you for your suggestion. Is there any other choice other than postponement and hope for the miracle? We got part of it. Thank you, Messiah.
Well, I have a brainstorm, but it's.
You did too. Well, do you have one? So
No, no,
go for it.
Okay. Too bad, 35 and 33 don't have a wider alley. There's, I mean, it's not a public street. See what I'm saying? But it's too narrow.
On that note, if we were to forget about this agenda item, if we were to look around and say, what can we sell so we can pay off $4 million worth of debt with $70,000 worth of value in real estate, that street would probably be on the ticket, right? That's
Yeah.
It would probably be one of those things that we'd probably want to sell. Okay. Now, along with a bunch of other real estate. If we did that, you would go through a process, you would surplus the property, there's some street codes that you have to deal with the state, and you put it up for sale. And then someone can bid on it. You can't just sell it to someone. It has to be bid on. That would probably be sold. We are into another situation though. As a council member, I mean, the worst thing for Iva is being on the council in this business. It is the worst thing for her because of this situation. She would probably get in trouble if she participated in any of that activity to put that up for sale and then end up buying it or leasing it. That's clear cut violation.
What if she withdrew from participation and then it was finally surplus?
Real quick, the government code 1090, let's just use a different example. Let's say that your son owns the garbage company and the garbage company has a franchise contract with this city. You can't just leave the room if you were going to enter, not son, wife, that you rely on each other's income. Okay, but she owns it, you don't. You can't just leave the room for that item. You have to leave the council for that item. You or a family member that has a contract with the city where you will financially gain, you can't have both. Yes, they are.
We're talking about a sale, not a permit.
Interest versus.
Order, please.
He's just highlighting the difference between the financial conflict of interest, where you're just financially interested in something versus actually contracting with the agency that you're a member of the board on, which is just outright prohibited in any underlying agreement. There's no recusing from it. You're not allowed to do.
And the sale would constitute part of that contract in a single transaction?
For purchasing.
Yeah.
So she can get a permit. She cannot contract for a sale.
Not unless, if she was not involved in any of that deliberation, if she had nothing to do with anything, not emailing council members, if nothing, it's a possibility that she'd be fine with leasing it or buying it. If she wasn't on the council. Right now, the quickest way is for her to become a restaurant. And if I were on the council, I would possibly move to approve condition ABC fire, all that stuff, and for her to provide a food permit that shows she's a food purveyor. And there's a way to do minimal. That's my only, under our current rules, and without having to create something for a council member, that's what we have available. And I don't think legal is happy with a continued use of an encroachment permit like she's had.
Well, let me just follow up on that. Would you be at all comfortable with the Band-Aid if it were very timely, like 2 weeks?
If it's illegal, I'm not.
Understood. Okay, thank you. And the problem with your suggestion as you just described it is that this particular item talks about an exception to the requirement.
Well, yeah,
An
because
item that we could vote on
yeah.
would have no exception.
Yes, well, I mean, and I don't know if you can even, can you just, if we have a particular ordinance and it says restaurants, can you make a decision as a council right now to omit that particular term in the ordinance? Even for amending it, right? Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying I can't vote on this item when it's written.
Or unless you want to approve a condition that she becomes a restaurant.
Well, what's the harm in doing it if she declines, right? So we could take this item as written and then just say we approve it with no exemption, is that correct?
Yeah, that's just things change with an agenda item. She's asking for an approval of the sidewalk cafe, and in order to approve it, you'd have to exempt. But if you change your mind and you come up with a different solution or proposal, that's
With
okay.
condition,
That's perfectly
yes.
okay.
So somehow if we fast track Councilmember Pellegrini's suggestion, in the meanwhile, her only option would be to comply with the no exemption form of this permit.
Yeah, she complied with our sidewalk cafe ordinance. We'd have to change a lot of you would have to give guidance to staff to amend some of the setback requirements or configuration, because it really isn't a sidewalk anyway. She doesn't have a sidewalk. So we'd have to just, for the spirit of the intent of that ordinance, I would think we'd be safe by making some adjustments to how it's configured. But to eliminate the need to be a restaurant is a different topic. But if she was conditioned to become a restaurant and then make sure that I don't know.
So what I'm hearing is that there are two unrisky or less risky viable options. One is adhere to the ordinance as it stands. And the other is resign.
She could be safe resigning NS as long as it can be proven that she had nothing to do with creating the change in any ordinance. Yes.
Well, that's a reason not to vote on this tonight, because part of that is decision or consideration for her in a way that we cannot do for her. So I'm not prepared to go forward with this, but we have laid the groundwork for potential solution. If I understand correctly, though, it's months to amend this ordinance in the way that Councilmember Pellegrini envisions. Is that correct?
Any changes?
Even to amendments.
Does everyone in here still plan to go there if there's not an outdoor garden? At least, okay. That's a good sign.
What's the penalty for revisiting this in 2 weeks?
The penalty?
There's no penalty.
Any penalty?
Staff time, public's time. I mean, if you revisit it, I don't know what's going to change. The facts aren't going to change.
We can give Iva those options, which we have given her.
Yep.
She was asking if you would go with her set of options. It doesn't sound like there's a motion on the table to go with those set of options. So we will revisit with Iva and tell her we have given you your options. Again, and see if she wants to choose any of those options. And then we could bring it back on the 5th of August, which we were hoping to discuss because we have to come back into session on the 5th for something else.
Yeah, I mean, the good
Boring.
news is the public invested themselves commendably. Council is educated. We know what the issues are. So we don't have to go back over this long deliberation again. We just have to have the resolution of the dilemma. So that would be my proposal.
Is it direction to talk to Iva about becoming a restaurant or another alternative of her not being in conflict?
Or a third miracle that comes from somewhere resolves, yes.
I think Mr. Kennedy needs direction, so. And the miracle one is probably not gonna be helpful.
Correct. So would you like to make a?
I will make a motion that, staff go back to Ida, explain where we landed in terms of what you see as the possibilities, being either adhering to the existing ordinance or, consider resignation in order to be not involved in any further discussion of how the ordinance may or may not change.
But essentially, bottom line, no decision on the item.
And if, I don't know if that needs to be a motion or voted on, or if that is just a general consensus with staff, with council to give that direction. I think either is fine. Correct? Okay.
Well, I just put it out here, anybody motion? Or was that my motion?
It's your motion.
Okay,
I'm
motion
happy to
for
second.
everything I just said.
I'm happy to second.
Okay. Councilmember Pamela Boulian,
Aye.
Councilmember Leo Suarez,
Yes.
Councilmember Cara Pellegrini,
Yes.
Vice Mayor David Kent.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I guess my last action would be to define the time for our subsequent meeting here. Would 7:15 or 7:30 be advisable?
But are you saying we're gonna adjourn this meeting and in 5 minutes we'll resume the other meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, we're adjourned then.
17.